Hey, I'm Shadow, host of Anything But the Music. This is where I talk to artists, whether they're local, regional, national, about something other than the music. So, know what is your favorite song to perform? Know what inspired you to write these lyrics? Know what is your creative process like? Basically, musicians have passions outside of their music. Now, do the two things coexist? Yeah, 100%. But I want to dive into those things and hear about anything but the music. With me today, Jacoby Shaddix. Of course, you probably know him as the frontman from Papa Roach. But Jacoby has been advocating for mental health awareness for, gee, it looks well over a decade now. I think I looked and I was doing my research, maybe talking about it as far back as 2014. When did you realize that you needed help and in the process you wanted to help other people who are in your shoes?
I mean, it's it goes back even farther than that, honestly. Well, first off, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Um, it's been something that's been on the at the fr- at the front of my mind since I was younger. Honestly, um, I was encouraged by my mother when I was younger to go to counseling, go to therapy because I had some issues, and I refused at a young age. I was like, no way, there's no way I'm doing that, no way, and I just was adamant about not accepting any help. And some years later, I had moved out of my house, and one of my best friends I was living with at the time attempted suicide, and that was what our song "Last Resort" was written about. It was written about this experience I had, and I wrote it in like the first person, but it was about my best friend. And that was a traumatic experience for me as a teenager, living on my own and watching my friend just struggle. And since the beginning, I mean, honestly, like "Last Resort," that was like the first
Yeah.
our first single, and it's centered around the struggle of mental health. And I didn't really realize the impact of the music and how what it would have on people out there in the world. And then we went and toured the world, and I met thousands of people that just, oh my God, your music saved my life. And I'm like, I didn't know how to take it in the beginning. I just was really like, "Oh, right on, man." And it wasn't until some years later that I had my own mental health struggles, and I realized, it was I masked a lot of my light on my issues with alcohol, drugs, and alcohol, and that really just sent me on a downward spiral for some years, and made me realize that I got to take a hold of my life and get, yeah, God, give me back my life. Like I needed help, and I didn't know where to turn. And I had eventually had found myself in the rooms of recovery, and that really helped me unwind this just knotted up, tangled ball of yarn that I had in my heart and in my soul and in my life, which then led me into the journey of my own mental health recovery and just taking responsibility and ownership for my own stuff, but then also dealing with the things that were outside of me, the things that I couldn't control, and you know all the while touring the world, falling off the wagon, getting back on the wagon. I finally had put the bottle down in 2012 permanently. I haven't touched it since, and God, I'll tell you, that's freedom right there, straight up. Um, and which leads us to current, where we're at now, and we have a song called "Leave a Light On" that highlights the puts a light on the darkness, shines a light into the dark, essentially. And
It's a beautiful song. It's my most favorite song that we are playing right now.
oh,
So
really?
I love it. And it's
Thank you.
already made it into here so that I can
Oh,
listen to it as much as I
that's
want.
great. That's awesome. So you got it saved. That's dope. Um, this song is it's like a light reaching into the dark, and we know there's a lot of people out there, especially through the pandemic. It really showed itself like how much we can struggle when we're isolated and alone. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to be
Right.
isolated. That's like that's where the chaos ensues, right? And so the conversation about mental health has been part of my life for years. And we've decided over the last few years to like use our music as a beacon of light and hope to people. And I think part of that stems from me being a father. Um, Part of it stems from me being a spiritual person. Part of that comes from me really taking responsibility for my life, and my recovery, and to use this music as a beacon of hope for people out there struggling, because we know people are struggling. And we partnered up with the AFSP, the
Mhm.
American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, over the last year, and that's a group here in America that's saving lives. People can pick up the phone and just dial 988, and they got somebody there that's going to help them, that's willing to help them, willing to listen to them, willing to offer some solutions. And I think that it's important for people to know that there is help out there, and it's just a phone call away. It kind of sounds cliche, you know what I mean? But it's like, in reality, it is. And especially when we're alone, struggling in the dark, and we don't know what to do and what that first step of action is, it's advocating for ourselves, and we are the ones that are going to look out for ourselves. And once we kind of reach out, we find that, in my life, when I was struggling, I reached out for help, and there were tons of people that are willing to uh, help me out of my struggle, and my darkness. And I've experienced the fruits of that in my life, and I've been in the muck and the mire of this life, and broken down and beat down by my own, some of the stuff is my own making, and then some of the things are just the traumas that I have never dealt with as a young man. And so I take responsibility for that stuff. But I think it's important, for us to send that message out to people that there is hope. That's what this is about. And I don't know, man. I feel there's enough chaos in this world that it's like somehow music, and especially I feel like rock music right now, there's a sense of hope in rock music, which is so, it used to be just about like rage
Rebellion.
and destruction and rebellion. And then it's like we saw eras and generations of rock musicians like rebelling and destroying themselves ultimately. A lot of the times it just leads to it, whether it's alcoholism, drug addiction, because it's just like the pain becomes too much of the lifestyle. I'm just glad I pulled out when I did, because you know I, I just think about where I would be in my life, um, without really taking responsibility for myself and the path that I was on. And God, I don't even care to know where I would have been, to be honest, dead or in
Don't
jail.
don't think about it. You basically oddly enough, like every question that I had lined out, you basically and you answered
Oh,
just in that whole and so but there's one thing that I want to touch on that
yeah.
I read about so about 3 years ago you did a interview with Psychology Today
Oh, yeah.
about acceptance based therapy. And I was like, that is something that I feel like we need a lot of acceptance based therapy because now with social media and stuff like that, you don't have to accept anyone. You can just get on social media and be an asshole to whoever you want. But
Yeah,
that brings people down. That brings people down.
absolutely. Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit what because yeah, you called it acceptance based therapy. I'm kind of curious as to what that is.
Um, well, to touch on the social media element, I it's definitely like it's ugly out there.
It sure
Message
is.
boards. It's like I remember back like when what was it, like MySpace was popping, or when there was message boards, and there was a message board I remember that was dedicated. It was a bunch of hardcore Papa Roach fans, and it was just the nastiest stuff they would say about me and my family and the band and the music. And it just was like, wow, like I got a real lesson early on about diving into message boards and reading people's comments and just how people would act and behave and just how
It
nasty it
hits
was.
you.
Yeah, and so I early on I just kind of chose. I was like, I'm not going to participate in that. Like I need to go. Like when I step on stage and I have that experience, that's what I'm going to gauge who I am, what I'm doing. Is the music having an impact? Does does what I have to say really even matter? And not read a message board about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the way I choose to participate in my in social media these days is a lot different than when, you know, how it was in the very beginning. I just keep it positive. I behind closed doors, it's like, man, I got it. Sometimes it just drives me nuts, and I'm just like, I'll write something. I'm like, no, don't post that. Just be the light, Kobe. Like
Yeah,
practice what you
I
preach.
mean, it would be just great if, social media was nothing but, kittens and dick jokes.
Nah,
Just leave it at
it's definitely not. And it's
politics.
all right. It is what it
Yeah,
is. Um, But back to what you were saying about acceptance-based therapy, it's something that I've learned on early on in my recovery was acceptance can be the answer to my problems, and it kind of is contradictory to me in the beginning because I was like, oh, I just accept the way that someone's treating me, or accept the way that is the way it is, and the way that it was explained to me was, if it's already happened, you can't change it, and it's how we react to what happens to us that defines who we are and the world that we make for ourselves. And so the way that I react determines whether I'm going to have a good day or a bad day, truly. And and it's like, am I going to slide? Am I going to let it slide off me, or am I going to let it sit in me and fester and boil and rule me? And sometimes I just have to accept the way things are as the way they are, and deal with things when they need to be dealt with, and not always just reacting right off the cuff.
right.
And that's given me some peace. Not do I practice it all the time? No. Do I practice it more often? Yes. And that's what's given me the ability to really kind of take hold of my life, and also for me a big part of my mental health struggle at times can come from, and it sounds goofy, right? But it's like what I'm putting in my body, what I'm allowing into my mind, what type of art I'm consuming, what type of media I'm consuming, what am I freebasing the internet? You know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah,
just feels like people are just cracked out on the internet.
constantly on our phones.
And I got to check myself. I have to really. I can't yell at my kids about being on their phone all day if I'm on my phone all day, right? So it's the conversation has been pretty interesting around the house as my kids get older, and I got to practice what I preach. Um, but for me, I think that really it's being mindful of what I allow into my life. It's like if I just take garbage in, garbage in, garbage in, it's just going to be garbage out straight up.
Right.
And I can tell when I'm getting off kilter by what type of things I'm letting into my life. And it's trippy because now it's almost like I'm practicing, working on the art of resensitization in my life because I've been straight desensitized, straight up
Hmm.
since I was a kid, uh, through television, through 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 music, through art, film, pornography. I'm and like how do I sensitize myself? And so for me, it's like a lot of the times just like shutting the outside world off, to be honest, and like putting the phone down, not watching as much TV, not reading as much news, not consuming as much sugar. Sugar to me is like when it comes to the mental health conversation, it's like people don't want to talk about sugar, but let's get down to it. Like that's the thing that's like really wreaking havoc on. Sugar's an inflammatory. All sugar does is inflame your tissues and your brain. and your gut. Your gut's your second brain. So if you're just bombing sugar, and that's gonna like really affect your mental health. So I have to watch like the sugar intake. Whenever I'm like bang like tons of candy, like during the holidays, I'm like, I feel terrible. Um, it's because of that. It's because of what I'm putting in my body. And so sometimes people can find that they're like in a rut, but it's really because you're just sitting on your ass. Uh, Sometimes I can find myself in a rut, and it's really when I start to like look at like my what I've done to like get myself there. It's I'm not working out, so I'm not getting in the sun. I'm not getting no vitamin D on me. I'm consuming way too much sugar and processed foods. And when I take and kind of recalibrate just those few things in about 5 days, I'm like, bing, the lights come back on. And so I, because a lot of the time when we talk about mental health, it's like sometimes people will just go straight to the pill for the fix. And
Right.
it's not the answer for me. It's not. I I choose the holistic path, and that's been really really beneficial and helpful to me.
Man, that sugar thing just got me. It made me think about last night, so I've been doing my best to like I have a sweet tooth.
Oh, me
As I
too.
think
It's,
most people
it's
do.
woo,
Yeah. And so, like, I've been like, okay, you know what? Like, let's start to ease off of that during the week. Cause I'd be like every single night, piece of candy, piece of candy. And so I was like, let's not, let's save it for weekend treats. And
yeah,
kind of like what you said, practice what you preach with, my kid and everything. Cause now he has a sweet tooth. And it's like, all right, so we're going to kind of just, save it for weekend treats. And last night, oh my gosh, like, because I haven't had any sweets since probably Sunday or something like that.
mm,
And, last night I was, oh my gosh, I was
yeah.
crazy. I had this like I have this Kit Kat bar that's just staring at me in my
Oh yeah,
drawer. Like, do I eat the Kit Kat? And I was like, no, I'm not gonna eat the Kit Kat bar. But who did I want to? But I didn't. I didn't.
yep,
But yes, it's weird. There's so many things out there that affect, mental health with your actual health. The two
oh
go hand in hand. So,
yeah, yeah. I think
all right.
another. I think I was just going to say another part, just another little point that I've found is I guess the culture that's instant gratification and that thing that is, we just want that good. I want to feel good. I want to feel good. I want to feel good. I want that dopamine hit. I want to smash it just
Right.
back. You know, and what I found is when I practice discipline in different areas of my life, whether it's with my fitness or what I'm consuming in my life. If I practice that discipline and have enough like days put together of living a disciplined life, and it's totally counter to being like the rock star lifestyle because rock star is like it's excess and it's over the top and it's all more, more, more. But I just feel like that's the chaos that is like trying to kill me essentially.
Right.
And so to like release me from the bondage of that, it's like discipline and obedience has been part of my, I guess, my recovery life and not always hitting that instant gratification button in my life, whether it's through food or what I'm consuming in my life, clickbait on the internet, reading stuff, the drama. It's
Yeah.
uh, it's like I gotta just pump the brakes a little bit and slow things down and so I'm again I really am trying to take a lot of holistic responsible approaches towards how I live, which is so not rock star, but at this point I don't give a fuck. Like I don't
Jacoby,
have
we
nothing to
are
prove to people.
we are not in our 20s anymore, all right? We can still be rock stars in our 30s and 40s. Where it's just a different
Oh, come
type
on
of
now.
rock
Hey, I wish I was in my early 40s. Shit.
star. All right, so we're running out of time here. I do want to end on a high note. I've got some just real quick, rapid fire, silly questions that I want to ask. Nothing
Hit
about
me with it.
music. All right. Favorite pizza toppings?
Favorite what?
Favorite pizza toppings?
It's just straight cheese, pepperoni.
Che Okay, you're like my 12-year-old. Okay, got it. Best binging show. If you are gonna binge something, what are you gonna binge?
Oh man. So me and my wife just binged. It's terrible. It's not even the best binging show, but we binged this show called Love Island. It is I'm embarrassed to even say it. Yeah, terrible.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'm kinda curious about the Golden Bachelor, the guy who's, like, in his
Oh, yeah,
50s,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the
Exactly.
Golden Bachelor. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet. Alright, best cereal on the market. Speaking of sugar,
I don't oatmeal.
oatmeal.
Yeah,
Like
steel
oatmeal
cut
cereal?
oatmeal.
Oh,
I
just
don't eat
oatmeal, okay.
cereal. Yeah,
What word do you have a hard time pronouncing?
specifically.
Yep, I can't even spell it. Alright,
Yeah.
and last question. What dish do you cook the best?
Oh, dang. What are we gonna talk about this?
Do you have
Teriyaki
a few?
chicken. I got
What is
some
it?
dope ass teriyaki chicken. Teriyaki chicken.
Ooh, I love I've been looking for a good teriyaki chicken recipe.
And you know what? I use it's called Yoshida's,
Okay.
uh, sweet and savory, and I do all dark meat chicken, no white meat, all dark meat,
Dude, that's the
and
way,
it
dude.
is
Like
just
teriyaki chicken with chicken thighs is like
mhm,
the best. The
it's the
best.
best. Oh, I love
All right, Jacoby. Well, thank you so much for being on my brand spanking new podcast. I'm very excited about it, and thus far, I've like it's been so interesting to talk to people. But hope you have a great day, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
absolutely. You too. Thanks for having me, for real.
All right, have a great day.